Hi students, my name is Ms. Castillo. This slideshow is going to go over just a few ideas on critiquing artworks, which is a lesson that we're going to go over in class. But if you do miss that class, this is going to be available to you if you have any questions about how to do art critiques. Like I've told you before, the next 2 days, you guys are going to be able to orally present your proposal for your installation. And you're going to be able to demonstrate this by organizing a bunch of different types of presentations for your vision and what the purpose of your pieces will be. You're going to have about 4 to 6 classmates working with you. And this is going to be the first step for your guys' art show. Like I said, the essential question is, how can artists sell an idea of an exhibit without it existing yet? And that's basically all we're doing, is we're preparing a proposal to get the idea out of what we want to do. Of course, we haven't started it yet, but this is the first step in selling that idea. Your groups are going to create a vision board along with the sketches and inspiration pieces to better present to your classmate what you guys are envisioning. This can be a bunch of sketches of, room layouts and sketches of artworks you want to be involved. You can also, get inspiration out of art magazines. You can cut out a couple pieces. You can include some images you found online of some art museums that you really like. Whatever goes into how you're going to prepare your guys' installation, I want you to involve it into your vision board because that will give us all a better idea of what you guys are trying to convey. So what is an art critique? An art critique is an oral written analysis of another person's work. Critiques also help artists gain feedback on their own work, as well as practicing their own art terminology. The more you talk out loud about art, you get a better feel about how art is supposed to be spoken about. You get a better idea of how to place all these terms that we're learning in a sentence and use it to define art. And you can soon be able to do it to any piece of art you see. Critique can be one-on-one, could just be me and one other person. It could be in a group of 6, 7 people, or it could be in a classroom with students. And the thing about critiques is that it's always one student piece of art at a time. It's never looking at a group of students' different artworks at once. I included this little step-by-step idea of art critiques. These ideas are just something you can think about while critiquing artwork. The key to a great critique is being able to discuss a piece of work without calling it pretty or nice or boring or ugly. You want to stay away from those adjective words. Something you really want to do is understand an artist's point of view while they're making their art. Basically, all this is showing you right here is 4 steps that you can think about while critiquing art. There is description, formal analysis, interpretation, and evaluation. And we'll go over more of those in just a bit. So why is critiquing important? Critiquing allows artists to gain feedback on their pieces. It can show an artist if what they're doing is successful or not. And sometimes when you're creating art, it's hard to know if the idea you're trying to give off is something that is successful or not. It also gives fellow artists more ideas of what they might be able to be missing. This does not mean directly copying an idea, but it can give your classmates more insight on a topic if it was something they were confused about. So we implement critiquing a lot in art because it's a way of getting everybody involved in a piece. It's a way of everybody giving their opinion so that the artist can know if what they've done is what they were trying to do. And if it comes off different in the critique, they know that then. So how do we plan on critiquing? So we're going to have a lot of critiques in this class, but this specific critique will be a little bit different. And it's going to go along with our proposal project. Like I said in the very beginning, the groups are going to be sketching out their ideas for their installations, and they're going to be producing vision boards for their ideas for the rest of the class to critique. So like I said in the very beginning, you guys are going to try to piece together all of these ideas you have on your installation and put it into this big dream board of what you want your installation to look like. And this can be sketches of art pieces you want to be involved. It can be sketches of the actual layout of the installation. I included 2 little quick sketches of what it can be like. This is just so that we can get an idea of what you're thinking. It's hard for us to know what another group is thinking about what they want to do if they're just telling us the idea they like. We really want some visuals. We're doing this to make sure that our outcome is successful as possible. This critique will be your last form of feedback, besides mine, of course, before your installation comes to life. So you never want to display art without getting feedback from other artists. That reason being is because if you put your artwork out there and you haven't gotten any feedback from any artists, it's hard to know, like I said, if what you were trying to convey is what is actually being shown. So this is going to be the last step before we really start to piece together things for our art show. So this is very important for us, and we want to make sure that we do it step by step so that everything is successful. So we can have a little bit of practice real quick. This is a Pablo Picasso painting. It's called The Girl with the Mandolin, and it was done in Paris in 1910. If you know anything about Pablo Picasso, he's an abstract artist, and the reason why I picked this is because there is a lot of subjective, a lot of objective, a lot of things that you can see right away, and a lot of things that you're going to have to look at for a little bit longer. But if you go through this list right here, you can kind of start to see more of what he was trying to do. So let's go through it really quick. So description. Let's just name the objects. Right away, we can see it's a female, and she's holding a guitar instrument, the mandolin. We can see her hair, we can see one eye, we can see her breast, we can see just her overall figure. In the background, we can also see a lot of cubes. If you know Pablo Picasso, this is very common in his art. You can see a lot of different things happening in the landscape behind this woman. Any patterns of art, anything you see, right away, all these different geometric shapes. One thing you can see also the color, it stays consistent throughout the entire painting. Any materials, this is a painting, so that is kind of a little bit easier. He also used a lot of pastels, a lot of graphite, so this is a little bit difficult. You would need to do a little bit more research in this piece to know more of his mediums, but still. So this genre of art could be seen as a portrait. Because it's so abstract, it's hard to criticize it as a portrait, but we do know it's a painting of a person. It could just be a figure study. There is some type of landscape happening behind it, but it is abstract, so it's hard to know what exactly it was, but right away we can tell that it is a figure, so we could characterize it as a portrait or just a figure study. The style of art, like I said, this might require a little bit more research on your end, but right away, abstract is the first thing you think of. If it's something that's not organic and super realistic, and it's something that's falling more into like this dreamlike, shape shifting type of idea, it's going to fall under an abstract. So formal analysis. We can see a bunch of different shapes and lines happening here. There's a lot of variety, but it does stay pretty consistent with just like prisms, cubes, stuff like that. The only thing that starts to change is the areas that are specific, like the guitar or her face. Right away, what is your eye caught to? It's caught to the guitar, right? Or it can be caught to her hair or her face. Not so much all these cubes that are making up her body right away. It's called The Girl with the Mandolin. You're going to look for a woman and her guitar. We see a lot of balance and rhythm throughout this entire piece. There's all these different geometric shapes that are not placed together specifically, but they're falling together. They're all placed and they worked well together. There's a harmonious vibe here. So what is this painting meaning to us? What can we interpret from this painting? We see this woman who is focused on her musical career. We see this woman who Pablo Picasso could be painting from real life. It could be from a study that took place in a concert in front of live music. What is the artist saying though? Is he just trying to convey the female body? Is he trying to portray this woman musician? That's something that you guys would need to think about a little bit more when looking at art and seeing what it interprets to you. So what's the quality of this piece of work? How can we evaluate this as a whole? Do we think Picasso is successful? In theory, he is. All of these pieces that he included in this piece create a successful portrait of a woman that we can notice right off the bat. We're not confused as to anything that's going on here, even though none of these pieces are realistic and it's all this cubism that Pablo Picasso practices in his work, we know off the bat what he's doing. That we can see the things that he is trying to convey. He's trying to convey this image of this woman in an abstract form. And in that theory, it is successful. So after going through all these steps, you can get a better idea of how to critique a piece of art. And this is just one example, but if you keep these steps in mind, okay, how can I apply all the principles of arts? How can I apply all these design terminologies we're learning? How can I also, look at this art as a whole? What is the first thing that grabs my eye? Where do I see rhythm? Where do I see balance? Is it successful? Do I know what's going on right away? Those are things you can think about when we're doing our own critique. Um, Although we're going to be critiquing something a little bit different, it's a good way to think about, at the end of the day, when you're critiquing, what you want to ask yourself is it successful? And if it's not successful, why? And these 4 steps will help you figure out yes or no. So after looking at the example and following all those steps, you can now apply all these techniques to our own critique. Remember, it's good to just look at everything for how it was created. What was the artist thinking when they were creating? When you're doing in-person critiques, you have a better insight as to what the artist was going through because the artist is there. With stuff like this, where we're just looking at pieces of work, it's hard to know, it happened almost a century ago. So it's hard to know exactly what the artist was thinking at the time, but when we're doing one-on-one critiques, you have the artist there and you're able to talk about their ideas and their downfalls and what they think they did well and what they think they did bad. You're going to find this easier to do as we practice it through the year, but for now, this is a good stepping stone to begin critiquing your art.